Facebook famously determined that if a new member invited 10 friends within 14 days, they were hooked for life. So they focused religiously on driving the user experience to this key metric. If you apply this product-based approach to B2B sales, then you can identify those users that are ready to talk. And this method is known as the Product Qualified Lead, or PQL. So if you sell in a freemium, open source, or trial model, then the PQL method is critical to give your sales team visibility into who is ready to talk. So talk to your data team, or better yet, partner with Whaler's team of data scientists to develop a PQL model tailored specifically for your business. You'll be empowered by knowing exactly when a user is ready to convert. To see specific examples, go to getwhaler.com/Andy. That's GETWHALR.com/Andy. And as a bonus, if you sign up to learn more about Whaler and PQLs, then Whaler will send you their optimized 2-page master services contract that you can leverage for your own business free of charge. It's time to accelerate. Hi, this is Andy. Welcome to another edition of Frontline Friday with my regular and very special guest, Bridget Gleason. Now, before we get to the show, Bridget and I have a favor to ask of you. We'd really appreciate it if you took time right now to leave a review for this show on iTunes. And while you're there, click the button, subscribe to Accelerate. Make sure you get Frontline Friday automatically each week. Also, we need to hear from you. More specifically, we need your sales questions. What can we answer for you? What challenges do you have that we can help you with? So go to accelerate.fm/frontline and enter your question there. Each month, we're going to select one listener's question to be the question of the month. And the winner will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. So remember, go to accelerate.fm/frontline to give us your question and maybe win $50. So Bridget, how are you today?
Andy, I would have introduced you if you forgot.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Next time, maybe I should open.
Let's do that. That's
good.
We'll
mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
We'll mix it up.
All right. So you have to remind me. I'll write a note here, but you have to remind me that we do that.
All right. That sounds great.
That would shake people
Shake it up.
Shake it up a little bit.
It's right. We've done more than 100 of these. We gotta add some diversity.
Well, we are.
We're shake it up.
We're adding guests, and
I like it.
And we're dressing up to do it these days, which we haven't been doing in the past.
We're dressing up. I'm always dressing up because I'm in the office. That's right. Yeah. I come in a formal gown.
Yeah.
And heels.
Yeah. Your standard of casual is probably
my standard. That's
more
right.
elevated than my standard of casual.
And elegant.
Yeah. I mean, it's cold enough now. I've had to put the shorts away. Have to actually wear, pants, so on. So, yeah. And did you get your run in this morning? I was thinking about you. I did my run this morning.
You know the answer to that.
You did. Of course you did.
Did the sun come up?
Did the sun come up?
Yes. Did the sun come up?
Yes, and it was a very pretty sunrise this morning.
It's beautiful.
In New York, I should have stopped and taken pictures. I was, running through Central Park as I mostly do. And that's just the rising sun hitting the buildings on Central Park South was overlooking the great lawn where they hold all the concerts and so on. That's pretty cool. So, but I was, too busy worrying about where I was going.
Yeah, well, that's right. You got to at least be looking ahead, especially if it's dark when you're running.
Yeah, it was mostly dark. So, all right. But hey, actually, since we last talked, but a couple weeks ago, I did my half marathon. So
congratulations!
Thank you. It's our annual with my sister. Run an annual half marathon in Maui, and that was successful. Got to the finish line.
That's great. That's what matters.
Yes. Yeah. No personal records set.
And she did as well.
Yeah. Well, we ran together.
Good.
Yeah. So team effort. Couple of old people crossing the finish line. That's just as we showed up. Oh, look at those old people. We didn't know the elderly were running this year. So yeah,
they have a special category for you, I'm sure.
Right. All right, so we have a guest with us today. Joining us, fantastic. Of course, it's fantastic. Is David Kerr, CEO of Octiv. David, how are you?
Good, Andy. I'm good, Bridget. I'm glad you guys told me to be prepared and dress up. I came in a tux today. So
good, David. Good. Phew.
It's gown and heels.
Right. We're changing the name of the show from Frontline Fridays to Formal Fridays.
Formal Fridays.
So, yeah, we'll be in formal wear. Well, maybe for the rest of the year, maybe through New Year's, maybe.
Good. Glad I got the
Yeah. Well, glad we got you the memo. So I was just looking at your Skype profile picture here. Are those your kids?
Those are my kids. I probably should update it. They've grown just a bit, but yes, those are my kids. Two of them are in college now. So.
Oh, they're both in college now.
And two, yeah. So it's a few years ago.
Okay. And where do they go? I mean, in terms of what teams are you supporting with your tuition these days?
I'm supporting plenty of tuition, but not any big teams. So these small liberal arts colleges, get you educated to read and to write, but not necessarily a job or a big mascot or a team.
Oh well, they'll come out with something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, somebody asked me the question. I was on a podcast just earlier this week, and somebody had asked me a question, because I'm a history major. If I had the opportunity to go back, would I do it again?
And? Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it probably not. I mean, go to school these days. I mean, everybody's sort of more vocationally oriented, right? A little more job oriented. I probably would be like everybody else. I mean, most of my friends undergraduate were either going to med school or law school or on to biz school, and I was just happy to graduate. So I wasn't even planning that far in advance. So I don't know. Maybe I'd be more type A, like many of our college kids are these days, and I'd be, doing a startup in my dorm room. I don't know. How about you, Bridget? What'd you major in?
Well, God, I was so confused. I was English and business, but then I was a TA for 3 years in the engineering school. So I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do.
How'd you be a TA in engineering without an engineering degree?
It was an entry-level class. I started as a math major.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Indecisive much?
Yeah, kind of indecisive. I like a lot of things. Like, I loved math. Literature was probably the hardest for me. I'm not a good writer. I don't like to write. I love to read, but I don't like to write. And I thought learning how to, it's so much writing. It's why I ended up choosing it. So I don't know that I would choose that again. I might choose, what would I do? History. I love history because I didn't do that last time. I would pick something new.
Okay. David, you?
Probably several things.
So I was liberal arts, politics. I would do it again. I enjoyed it. It was history, economics, political science-esque, English, all those things.
Sure.
And even though I'm at a tech company and we have lots of engineers and lots of folks with technical abilities, I think having the ability to read and write critically and think critically is a missing skill these days for lots of folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so I think I probably would do it again unless I had a real aptitude for computer engineering, and then I probably would just head right down that path. But I don't. So I'd stay with the liberal arts approach and learn how to read and write and think critically.
Yeah. I mean, I love history. I still read voraciously about history and so on. But I don't know. I just think, all of us, we'd just be so different, right? Growing up this day and age. I mean, because there's so much more pressure from an earlier age, to get the good grades. You can go to a good school, to choose what you want to do from almost the get-go. I mean, at least the college students that I've been talking to over the last several years, it's like they know going in almost what they want to do. And I certainly didn't have that issue when I was going to school. I mean, I said I was probably the last minute deciding what it is I was going to major in. So I just think like we'd all be sort of influenced by that if sort of seeing how we turned out to be.
Don't disagree. Can't disagree.
All right. So enough chit chat. So tell us a little bit about Octiv and what you guys do.
Sure. Thanks for asking. So Octiv is focused on the sales productivity and sales enablement space. So what we do is we look at solving this problem of what's called seller's burden.
Seller's burden. Okay.
Seller's burden. Through the use of technology. And what our technology does is we do document generation around all kinds of sales documents. So proposals, presentations, contracts, and we automate all of those. We standardize them and we automate them. And so it helps to drive sales efficiency, sales effectiveness across those sales teams.
All right. So seller's burden. What's your definition?
So seller's burden, my definition, and some of this is influenced by folks at some of the analyst firms, certainly, but I see a seller's burden as being kind of threefold. One, you have all kinds of internal complexity. So you are dealing with approvals from finance or from compliance or from legal or pricing from your boss or whatever it might be, your sales manager. Then you've got product complexity. So we're asking sales teams to deal with all kinds of different SKUs for the product, different configurations of that product. So lots of product complexity. And then the third element would be the external complexity. So when you're selling into an enterprise or even a small business, you've got a variety of different decision makers and influencers. And so there's lots of complexity that a salesperson has to deal with these days. And they've always had to deal with.
Yeah, well, you sort of read my mind. I mean, is it different? I mean, is it more? I mean, I know everybody says it's more complex. I'm not somebody that necessarily buys that it's that much more complex than it's ever been. But what do you think?
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't know that it's that much more complex than it's ever been. I think potentially there's kind of an increase of volume and investigation and discovery that occurs. So you need to figure out how you sort through that and manage through that in a different way. A little tangent off of our chit chat, but I think about kids applying to college now. I applied to 3.
Yeah, me too.
That was a lot back then. Now kids, they'll apply to 15 to 20 because it's so easy because everything's automated.
Yeah,
and
the Common App.
Yeah, the Common App. I think people kind of in the sales process, it's really easy to go out and do a lot of online investigation and get a lot of free demos or free looks of things. And so anyway, I think there's not necessarily increased complexity, but I think there's sometimes maybe increased volume and demand for detail and things such as that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Bridget?
Yeah, I don't know that it's more complex, but probably the volume has increased in SaaS businesses. I think just the volume in and of itself has increased.
The volume, I think meaning quantity, or the volume of noise that they have to deal with.
Both. I think, let's say the number of deals that a team is managing, I think that's gone up there.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I just know in our business there's more volume, so just more documents, maybe not necessarily per deal, but there are more documents that a team needs to track. I would say the other thing is when reps aren't staying at companies as long as they did in the day, just having to train and retrain people and knowing where the documents are and which ones to use, there is that burden of having to continually train, retrain. So having a system or a way to do that more easily, I think, super beneficial.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a key point. With all the turnover that seems to be, at least in certain roles, it seems like turnover having more frequently churn of sales employees than maybe historically has seen. I haven't seen any data on that, but it certainly sort of feels that way given sort of the way we structure sales these days.
Right.
Interesting. So David, you had changed the name of the company. It had been Tinderbox before. So what was the reason for the change?
Or can we guess?
You guys want to take a guess?
Well, there's another company that sounds.
So you're over. People thought you were a dating app for business or something, or
damn millennials. They ruined it. No, love the millennials. Yes, that company called Tinder. Even though we had the name Tinderbox beforehand, turns out that became had a little more notoriety than Tinderbox did. If you talk to the marketing firm we worked with and so forth, we talked about the maturation of our business, and we need to have something was a little more sophisticated and these sorts of things. But in reality, yeah, when we're going to Salesforce Trailblazer shows or regional shows and so forth, and you've got people coming up and taking pictures of your booth, not because they want to engage with the company, because they think it's a little bit humorous, then, the society knows by time to make that change. So,
Yeah, not the kind of notoriety you were looking for.
No, it's not. I mean, it is amazing though, and I suppose maybe shouldn't be surprising. We still go to places and we'll be at a Gartner show or a Salesforce show or something along these lines. And people go, I used to know a company. We used to talk to a company and what were they? And we'll go, Tinderbox? I'm like, yeah. So we had, I think, more brand equity than we knew we had, but it's because that Tinder name is pretty memorable. So,
well, and maybe,
anyway.
Yeah. And maybe just to sort of a clumsy segue with what we were talking about before is you talked about the three complexities that sort of comprise the seller's burden. I mean, to me, really the fourth one is this idea that people are just distracted. I mean, I think that's one that doesn't, we talk about it at one level, but the fact is that for the newer generations coming into the workforce that are more digital natives, is there's more, I don't want to say seamlessly integrated, but I mean there's certainly more bigger chunk of the lives is devoted to whether it's Instagram, Facebook, so on and so on, social media and so on, that they're not setting aside, I'm going to set aside 10 minutes every hour and do that. I mean, it's sort of, like I said, there every minute of the day. And I just sort of curious, it's just more distractions, more temptations. It's that to me seems like part of the seller's burden as well.
I don't disagree with you. It was interesting. I was just talking with a colleague of mine, and we, as a typical SaaS business, we have lots of folks that are recently out of college. You're in that millennial group. And then we've got a handful of folks that I would like to call, like myself, who may be more senior or mature, whatever you want to call us, old. And we were talking about Slack. So we use Slack in the office. And she was asking me, she's like, do you know exactly how to follow it? How, like, yes. So we have channels in Slack. If you're not familiar, you can create channels and so forth. And we have an everybody channel,
right? And
we give out tacos. So I don't know if you're familiar with this whole concept, but they have this whole process. And essentially, it's giving rewards or a pat on the back to peers all day long. Right. So somebody helps you out with a support case, or somebody helps you out with whatever it is. You can give out 5 tacos a day. And I'm telling you, the running thread on this thing of gifts and of, commendations, pats on the back, giving people a hard time. You talk about a distraction. I mean, it's interesting, and you can get the tone and flavor and vibe of the organization, but there's days I can't believe I'm saying this, but I miss, like, hey, just send me a quick email that here's what this team did, or here's the improvements they made.
Right.
But the rest, and I find it interesting, but the rest of the team, like, literally, it is up on their laptop all day long, and it's in between solving cases, doing selling. You're running this whole Slack channel, which is just kind of a running commentary during the day.
Well, I think that's one of the things why it makes this issue of seller's burden or whatever we want to call this is such a difficult one, because if we keep talking about, well, how much percent of their time are sellers actually devoted to selling, and generally we tend to think that number is relatively low, but we really don't know, right? Because it's, like I said, this Slack and the way you're using it, the way you talk about the way conversations or people are having on it. Yeah. I mean, it has beneficial effects, has team building effects as well. But, is it taking time away from other things? You really can't quantify that.
Yeah, we use...
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
Yeah, we use Slack internally as well. And for some things, it's very efficient, but I personally dislike this interrupt-driven workflow. It's for me, I have to turn channels off, especially when I'm trying to get certain projects done. But I do think Andy, also to your point in selling, it's so easy to be distracted. How many hours are we really selling in a day?
Yeah, and I think maybe it's impossible to calculate, and that gets to a previous conversation, Bridget, you and I had with another guest about, how do we know what's really working or not, whether it's a sales process or so on, because we've got all these different pieces playing into it. We look at our ultimate conversion rates, maybe aren't as great as they could be, but we work backwards and it's like, well, yeah, there's all these distractions and, things that are pulling people one way versus another. And it's, sometimes I wonder whether we can ever really untangle the knot.
It's a good question.
Don't disagree with that. I do think, and certainly it's not the answer to all problems, but I do think this is where digitization and automation can help streamline and improve those things. So whether it's certainly not just Octiv, but whether it's Octiv, but other solutions as well, there's more and more solutions that are interpreting what's coming in your email, what stage that is, integrating with your CRM, and then recommending content to send at those times and so forth. I do think there are certain technologies that, if applied correctly, I don't know if I would say navigate those distractions, but when you do have the person focused on selling and not engaging those distractions, ideally you're able to have more pinpoint accuracy potentially in what you're delivering to the prospect or to the customer. Ideally, that's how that should those things should benefit you.
Yeah, but I mean, using the example you gave, which is a great example, is because then also, the first vision that came to my mind was, with all these tools, and you've got AI analyzing emails and then saying, hey, based on what we saw and the keywords, this is the content we should be sending, and do you want me to send that? It's almost like, wow, we start seeing a lot of that happening sort of in an unattended fashion, which I know is nirvana for certain investors, let's say, but you get further away from the customer.
True, I would agree with that. I mean, you see some of these social selling things, and it used to be you'd read an article that might be interesting to you, Andy, or to you, Bridget, and I'd send you a quick note, and I'd say, hey, read this, and this seems applicable to some things you're working on, and it was personalized. I feel like I love some of the social selling things that kind of automate that process for you. So, okay, Andy likes all articles related to this. And so then it feeds me every day and I can kind of send that over to you. But you can feel pretty quickly when that becomes less human in reality, and it becomes more automated. And then you just begin to dismiss those.
Definitely.
Well, I think that's one of the central challenges of using technology and automation and so on, and I phrase it as, how do we cross from personalization at scale to humanization at scale, right? So, and we're sort of mastering this idea of quote unquote personalizing, right? I mean, certainly all the automation vendors will tell you, you can do this mail merge and put the first name in, and then we can tweak a sentence or something here or there, but basically, when people talk about personalization, they're basically talking about putting a first name, hey, Andy, and that constitutes personalization. And to your point is people understand very quickly that isn't really, it's personalized, but it's not human, right? So I think one of our big challenges, and we're raising all sorts of big challenges, not answering necessarily any of them, but is how to humanize at scale our communications. Bridget.
Well, and when you say humanize, you're talking about not just the Dear Bridget, as you said, but how do we make the communications humanized, meaning more personal or relevant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got it.
But really, person to person, not personal in the big scheme like we're using it now.
Well, I mean, short of it's not realistic or cost effective, and nor do customers want it in prospects to have face-to-face or even phone calls all the time. So I think so if you can't meet them in person, which is the best way to have it be personal, because you get full contact, all of the context as well.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage reps, number one, is there some connection that you have to them? Whether it's a person in common, is it a city you grew up, is it a school, is it an association? Like, can you find some connection to that person? So I think you have to really dig, you have to do research, you have to be curious, and you have to go to find the connection, because that's why we respond as humans, is what is that connection between us? Mm-hmm. And so I really encourage reps to find that connection and then include that connection in an email, in a phone call, if you are going face to face, but really trying to find where's that connection between me and you.
And do they feel they have the time to do that research?
Well, you have to. You can't go on an archaeological dig to go find it. But I think.
Well, yeah, I know.
But I mean, the beautiful World Wide Web can surface things very quickly. So I think 5 minutes, you can find a few things. Mm-hmm. And depending on the prospect, and depending on the potential, let's say, value of what this opportunity might be, it may be worth doing more research than one that may be just a very small, more transactional deal. So I think you have to pair the research to what the potential outcome might be.
Right.
Yeah, and I would echo what Bridget's saying. I mean, it's one of the reasons that we gravitate towards enterprise sales, because I do think that human connection and that understanding of the person, people like to buy from people that they know, that they appreciate, that they have something in common with, these sorts of things. So I would agree with it. It depends on the size. If it's much more transactional and it's more self-service, obviously you're not going to have that. But I do think for larger transactions and deal sizes, you want those. I can think about time, and this was more like your archaeological dig, but I still remember it. A person was selling me, I don't know if I was, anyway, Groupon or Angie's List, running a sales team, and it was a larger opportunity. And they sent me basically a coffee table history book around my college where I went to school. So they'd done a little bit of research, and I got this, package in the mail, but it was very personal and relatable. And, had interesting pictures of the campus and all these kinds of things. And you know what? I took their call and we had a conversation and, began to build a relationship. So that's a bit at the extreme. And back to Andy, you're saying, hey, how do you scale that? And you can't necessarily do that at scale, but depends on what your target list is and what size the outcome could be. Yeah.
Well, now instead of that book, and Bridget and I had a guest on the show a few weeks ago who a company called Sendoso, familiar with them, that basically facilitates gift giving and ways to sort of encourage customers to take a call or to thank a customer for something, or however you want to use it. But one of the best things they had was you could send it could be a buyer, no prospect, a cookie that is their profile picture on LinkedIn. They'll see the cookie; it's recognizably them. It's the shape of the head with the icing doing all the details of the. I thought, well, I like that one. That's a cool one, right?
We're using them, by the way.
Oh, you are? Oh, good, excellent. Yep. Have you sent the cookie yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
You're supposed to send me one.
Well, we haven't started yet, so we just signed up with them as a result of that conversation we had.
Yeah, I mean, they have all sorts of cool things, David.
I will be looking them up afterwards. But one of the deals that we're just getting ready to close, a multi-million-dollar deal, when we went on our first onsite, we took cookies. This is a manufacturing type, distinctive colors and all these things, and we took a whole basket of cookies that were all their company colors and the shape of their different
that's great
manufactured items and all these kinds of things. And
excellent.
People love them.
They do. The little things.
It's just a little thing.
Well, they become tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Potentially, right? At some point down the road.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, David, it's been great to talk to you. Unfortunately, we got to wrap things up. How can people connect with you and find out more about Octiv?
Sure. Well, I've enjoyed the conversation as well. People can connect with me at david.kerr, Kerr, at octiv.com, or they can go to octiv.com, which is octiv.com.
Excellent. All right. That's David Kerr at Octiv, OCTIV. I was going to say that really quickly and I blew it.
OCTIV.
Very well done. Good job. So you are next time you introduce me.
I'm going to do that. And I'm going to connect with you, David, on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. I'll look forward to it.
All right, David, thank you very much. Bridget, as always, fantastic. Friends, thank you for joining us. Yes. And we'll talk to everyone again next week.
Have a great one.
Thank you.